Well, good evening, Star Wars players, Star Wars fans, Star Wars aficionados. Coming to you live this Wednesday for another exciting edition of Holotheatre. My co-host tonight is the wonderful, the talented Kendall Hallman, better known as Koran on GEMP. Joining us tonight is the man himself, design advocate, Mr. Chris Kelly, as you can clearly see on the shirt that he's wearing. So how are you guys doing tonight?
Excited to be here with the Kathleen Kennedy of Star Wars cards.
Oh, oh, I,
Shots fired
wow,
already.
wow. I'm sorry. Wow. You know, Chris and I have had our little heated rivalries over the last few years. That might have been that's the worst thing anybody has ever said about him.
Is it
I
too
like
late
Kathleen
to
Kennedy.
back
What are you
out?
talking
You
about?
wow. Yeah, but Chris doesn't. Chris is like a
Oh, okay, yeah.
Chris,
Hit them where they live. Hit them where
Chris,
they live. I got
how do you feel about episode 7, 8, and 9, Chris?
I love. Well, let's not turn this into that. debate,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But I loved episode 7. Episode 8 ruined my life. And then episode 9 tried to do what it did, but it made episode 7 worse. So yeah. But if you like them, I'm happy. Honestly, I'm not one of those people that.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So, we got an exciting show for everybody tonight. We're going to be talking a little bit about how Chris did with Texas Mini Worlds. We'll go into some design stuff, some CBT stuff, and then we're going to have our usual breakdown of the Swing and a Miss, the Swing and a Miss, It's a Hit, the lore challenge, the deck building challenge. For those, we'll have an exciting deck building challenge for those who are waiting for that. But yeah, let's start off with talking about some Texas Mini World stuff. So, Texas Mini Worlds for those is currently in its top 8. We still have one more match to go, that being the Brad Kipple Mike Kessling match. So currently, Joe Olson, Greg Shaw, and Matthew Harrison Trainer have advanced to the top 4. We're still waiting on one more player to advance. MHT again upset Justin Desai. Joe Olson, I would say it was kind of an upset, being that Joe was the lower seed, upset Bill Kafer, and Greg upset fellow teammate and Bastion killer Matt Lutz, who is also Kendall's co-host on the Bad Deck Breakdown. So, yeah, that's Texas Mini Worlds for you. But you know what? Speaking of Bad Deck Breakdown, Kendall, you have something that you wanted to announce to the Star Wars people of something that you're going to be doing over the next little bit.
Yeah. So, this is I wouldn't call these bad decks, but I am doing a project on my Twitter, my Star Wars CCG Twitter, Bad Star Wars CCG, which is the best place on Twitter to find mean-spirited memes about the Star Wars CCG community. It's nice because all the people that I'm mean to don't follow me there, so
Uh-huh.
Now
Facebook
I need a
group,
Twitter.
I'm looking at you.
So here's my question: who are you actually mean to?
No, there was one meme that I copied onto the Facebook group from my where I was kind of cynical towards people that don't like virtual cards, and it became very controversial on the Facebook group and had to be deleted. But it's still on the Twitter, so go find it. Especially if you don't like virtual cards, or if you don't like people who don't like virtual cards. I don't know.
Well,
Anyway, it's not really that mean spirited, but there's
It's
memes
fair.
there. But I every time there's 30 days in a month, I feel like it's appropriate to do 30 things in 30 days because I'm the internet. And so I did last November, I did 30 ukulele covers in 30 days. And so I was like, let's
Okay.
do 30 decks in 30 days. And I didn't know what that meant, but I thought of the name. And so basically what I've been doing is just doing a screenshot of a GEMP deck
Okay.
every day. Just this is the deck, this is what it's called. If it's a deck that I didn't build, I say who built it. And just sort of showing all the different decks that are out there. Today's deck was the first non-open deck that I've posted. I posted Luke, I don't need no stinking Luke. Matt Sokol's Worlds 2000
Okay.
hidden base X-wing odds deck.
Nice.
But I guess like I was trying to think like what are these decks? Are these are these the like when I post a court deck, is this the court deck? And I realized what it is if you want inside my psyche, this is what I think these decks are supposed to look like.
Okay.
So when you see my no idea deck in a few days, you will know how bad I am at Star Wars cards.
So you're going over not necessarily. Are you going to be covering the same deck? Will you be covering like two different no ideas, or is it like based on the objective or like characters in a deck, or is this just something you are pulling out of a hat?
It's mostly out of a hat. I have done. I would say I wouldn't do two, like 3 effect Throne Room main decks.
Okay.
But I think I did my 12 card Throne Room main and my 3 effect Throne Room main.
Okay.
Those are kind of fundamentally 2 different decks.
Yeah, and I was going to say, because like there are decks like that. Like my version of Throne Room definitely looks a lot different than Chris Kelly's, because Chris Kelly is a Throne Room champion. I'm just the guy who picks up Throne Room because I'm bored.
Right. Yeah, I could see myself build it I could see myself, if I knew anything about carbon chamber testing, doing a CCT flip deck and whatever the other kind of carbon chamber testing deck that is.
Well, yeah, because I know
2 more.
There's a lot more.
And then there's a Frieza guy.
Yeah.
So you can do flip, you can do Iggy, or do just Frieza guy.
Yeah. Because I know there was a point where people would play like IG-88 and they wouldn't start the Jabba's prize. So you would have to give them a rebel, and then you could flip, or you could freeze them and play stuff like what is it? All Too Easy, to make them lose 8 force. So
wrong objective, Daniel.
You know what? Yeah,
same. They all do the same stuff.
Well, no, I mean
this was Warlord Challenge.
Oh yeah, no, you're not. I went deep, son.
He's gonna read you the lore on an objective.
And just a quick plug for Kendall's YouTube channel. That must be where the ukulele videos.
Yes. Oh yeah. That's at K Hallman on YouTube. KHALMAN. Yeah.
I see
There's
those
a bunch
videos.
of ukulele covers on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what you're coming up with. I would like to see you review a lot of like the bigger known decks from history. Maybe like go into a K Todd Senate, because that's one of the best ones that I know of. Or you know what? Go really really bad decks and talk about like Watch Your Step V when it first came out. Yeah.
Unfortunately,
yeah.
I don't,
Chris knows what I'm talking about.
Depth of knowledge there. Also, it'd be difficult to do a GEMP screenshot of Watch Your Step V.
Yeah.
Unless the programmers want to make all my dreams come true and program legacy cards.
That would be interesting. I would be down for that. But yeah, just by looking at Chris Kelly's face when I said Watch Your Step V, he knows why I brought it up.
Didn't they just change the name to Old Allies?
Chris?
And then cut like half the text.
Yeah.
I honestly, I barely know what Old Allies does. I definitely don't know what Watch Your Step V does. I was playing Watch Your Step Raiders when everyone else was playing Watch Your Step V. So, I will say that I think that that Seth Ackrey had a really good idea as far as programming on GEMP, rather than trying to for the legacy stuff, rather than trying to do like just tons of legacy stuff, to put together like theme decks, like how Magic does like Elspeth versus the other person, Soren or whatever, and do like a light side and a dark side deck that have like 3
that could be interesting
legacy cards in there.
That could be really
have
interesting.
the stuff to do communing, but not any. But like otherwise, it's just Decipher cards, or it's just regular, and then just do a few, just so you can kind of get that legacy itch, or teach people why legacy was bad.
Legacy wasn't bad. It was just different. I mean, I will say one of the worst things that come out of Legacy weren't the objectives, but missions. God, remember those?
Is my volume still low, guys?
You're a
hear
little
me
bit
now?
better, yeah. But yeah, I think it's because you're
Just talk
using your
loud.
phone, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, just enunciate.
I have trouble doing that.
All good.
And of course, the other thing about Legacy and reasons or whatever, but it was nice in Legacy to have the old expanded universe
Yeah.
themes explored.
Yeah.
And I mean, that stuff still exists. Like
right here.
just because it's not on GEMP doesn't mean it's gone forever.
It exists right here where it matters.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's going to be interesting. That's one thing to look forward to on Kendall's Twitter. So if you're not following Kendall, we'll make sure that we get you a plug on the one of the channels to post your Twitter handle and everything. But yeah, so let's go talking about again. We'll talk about Texas Mini Worlds right now. We know Chris, you played in it, correct?
I did. Had a good time. Yep.
So, how did you? What made you choose the decks that you did? I know you played. I want to say what Throne Room and Watto.
I don't remember what I played, to be honest. I played. I played Wyops, and I played Watto.
And what made you choose Wyops and Watto?
Because Hitko's terrible, and Watto's fun.
And Watto, I mean, you get to say Sebulba
Every time
you
that
know what?
bastard
I
touches
still,
the card.
we still have to get you on audio saying that for
I'll
just
do
for
it.
prosperity.
I'll do it.
So,
Is there a card of the guy that says Sebulba?
There will be next set now that you've said that. What's his name and what should he do? PM me details on Slack, please.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I'll do the research.
You do the research and come up with a function, and that's the next week's spoiler on Holotheatre.
Chris, I would love to see if you can get design into making a.
I think by
random
now
guy.
everyone knows I'm the least influential member of design.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, Yeah, I actually don't know that guy's name. It seems like
Look
he
it up.
seems like a character that I would know
He's
his
getting
name.
a card.
Well, I mean, what point in episode 1 was that said?
During the pod race.
During the pod race.
Was
yeah.
it the announcer?
Simba!
No, there's like a guy in the crowd that it's like he's like Sebulba's biggest fan.
It's me.
Can we just
It's
Photoshop a picture of Chris Kelly onto that guy?
Or we just need to get him. We just get some PC funds together, get Chris Kelly a cosplay, and get a picture.
As Sebulba?
No, as the guy
as
that
that
says
guy.
Sebulba.
The guy. Okay, that's fair. I would like that. So if anybody who is influential who is watching, let's get Chris a costume. And we'll make him a card, much like we did for Tom Hade. So yeah, that's our next big idea. So Chris, you wanted to come on and talk about some of the stuff that was going on with Set 13 and CBT as well.
That's a little aggressively worded, Dan. You wanted me to come on.
You know what? I always want you to come on because you're an entertaining guest.
Yeah, so there's been some threads on the boards. And I think I posted a master list of what we are talking about, which probably should be updated. The trouble with updating it up to the minute, obviously, is one, I don't have the time or interest. And pause for laughter. But also, things change. Things are always in flux, especially with a new set around the corner. There's a few things that go on. First, we all have to agree that it is a problem. I've long thought that just because a deck wins doesn't mean it's a problem. You know, the most hyper example is if a deck won 100% of the time, but every single time, every game was so fun, I'm okay with that. If everyone walks away from an event saying that was the best event ever, I'm okay with that. But obviously,
Well, I don't think anybody. I was going to say, yeah, we live in a world where there are people who get grumpy over not doing well in events.
Yeah, so it is something to pay attention to, win rates and such. But so we'd first have to all agree that this
Mm-hmm.
deck is a problem, and then secondly agree, is it a problem because of the way the deck functions and is built? And if
Mm-hmm.
so, then maybe we need to change a core part of that or a supplemental piece of it. Or is it just a problem because right now that deck is thriving in this particular meta? This meta seems to have gone from a go wide meta to
Mm-hmm.
a stack meta.
Yeah, in
So
a lot of games, I can see it. I know Throne Room, Legend seems like that. ISB is kind of the same way, but it can go wide. Same with No Idea. Like those decks have a little bit of variance with that. But I mean, yeah,
yeah,
No
I
Idea.
think the reason those decks are thriving is because those decks stack, and then later on they do go wide.
Exactly, exactly.
And how can another deck combat that? Well, the only way to combat a deck that can stack and go wide is another deck that can do that.
Yes.
So I think that's kind of why No Idea and ISB are kind of having their heyday,
Mm-hmm.
and Court as well.
Court,
Can
yes.
do that.
Actually, I was going to say CCT is
Mhm.
kind of doing the same thing. That's why I think CCT is having some, if not
Yep.
more success than Court against No Idea.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I
So
mean,
once we identify that, then we just say, well, a new set's coming out.
mhm.
How will this deck be in the new meta? And if it's going to still be good, do we want to do meta cards? So that's kind of why it's difficult to update everyone up to the minute, because things change. We're reviewing playtest results for 13. We're tweaking cards for 13. If we find that a card in 13 that we really liked ends up being not that good, well, maybe we take off one of the functions of an interrupt and add on an anti-ISB function, for example.
Yeah,
So that's kind of what's going on.
and I like how the PC, and especially with CBT and the members of CBT and everything, they're not generally quick to go in and say, okay, this card is overpowered, and then instantly make a knee-jerk reaction. I like how they want to take their time in doing it, so that way they can figure out what's the best way to work with a card. I think the best example of that is Visions of the Emperor, or Shadows of the Empire, which was the virtual Visions of the Emperor. But yeah, I mean, that card was clearly what made Black Sun the insane must-play deck at Worlds that year. To okay, it was tempered down to the point where it was not being played as much, to now it's fairly balanced.
Yeah, that Black Sun Worlds was like one of the worst after events. Usually after that Saturday, I'll just talk to people. Sometimes we'll have dinner and we'll talk about cards, what we like, what we don't like, what's fun, what's not fun, what's working, what isn't working, what we want to see. And that Worlds, I was basically just asking everyone, what would you do about Black Sun? And the answers were all the way across the board. So finding a consensus was kind of difficult on that.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I was having
but then as another example, was it Continentals? Where it was pretty clear that Hark Seth in OA and canceling Destiny in No Idea, protecting your undercover spy was just not a good experience.
Yeah.
So those erratas actually came through within, I think, like a week. So there's an example where the CBT was pretty quick when it was pretty obvious. But I agree with your point. We're pretty methodical for a reason. We don't want to do knee-jerk reactions. A lot of times the meta solves itself. There's smarter people than I that come up with an answer to that, and that kind of kicks it out of the meta. But yeah, I'll agree with your point that we're methodical for a reason.
Yeah, and part of it helps that right now we have a lot of people playtesting the cards that are coming out for set 13. So as we have a lot of people playtesting, a lot of these issues with cards are quickly picked up on, so that way you can have a behind the scenes discussion with the members of D&D and figure out what to go in that correct direction. So I mean, we have had a few spoilers already, so I mean, and again, these cards are not permanent at this point, so they might see some changes before they're released, but at least right now we are starting to see some of set 13 and stuff, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah, and you mentioned playtesting. Shout out to everyone on playtesting. The results of the past two sets have been incredible. We read all the reports. There's a Slack channel which I try to be participative of, and I'll throw things out there like, hey, as D&D, we're kind of struggling. We know what we want this card to do. Where do you see it, and what suggestions would you make? I've literally in that channel, if you've play tested, asked you your opinion on how would you change the card. So if you do want to influence the game, play test, and I'm so grateful for all the play testers and people that participate and help out. So thank you to everyone involved.
Yeah, let me just add to that. Anybody can be a play tester.
Yes.
I'm a play tester, which doesn't necessarily speak well for the quality of the play testing that's going on.
Well,
but the thing is, if you have enough results, even bad players can help with that.
And to add that, so speaking again about if a deck won 100% of the times and everyone had fun, obviously that's not a real world example, but if it was, we make cards for Kendall too. We don't only make cards for the top 10%. So, for example, Legend. If Justin Desai or Steve Baroni was to play Legend, they're going to win 90% of the time. And there's nothing a mere mortal like us can do about it. But does that make it a competitive balance problem?
No.
I don't know. Good players are going to win. But bad players want to have fun. So we do make cards and take that into account.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure that Luke Skywalker Rebel Scout was designed for me, because as soon as I came back to the game last year, I was like, make me a better Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight. Like that was one of the first things that I posted in the threads, and then we got it. Now we just need the same thing with Palpatine.
If someone was to one, convince me to drink, and two, get me drunk, I would tell you the stories on those. But that's
I know
that's a story for another time.
Well, hopefully when COVID is done, I know the NPC is going to be next year. Chris, are you going to be going to the NPC?
Oh, I'm actually the reigning NPC champion. Because we didn't have an in-person one this year. So yeah, I'll be there.
Okay, so if I just did not hear myself correctly, hear Chris correctly, he basically said that Hayes Hunter did not win the NPC this year.
He did not win the in-person NPC.
I think what he's saying is that Gemp Star Wars CCG isn't real Star Wars CCG.
I'm saying it's different. The cards don't light up in real life.
Oh, we could make that happen, hopefully, eventually. But I kind of hear like a little bit of a sass between Chris and Hayes. Maybe we should have a NPC winner showdown to see who's the better player.
The only competition I'm ever beating Hayes in is maybe Limbo. Let's be honest. And I hope everyone knows I am kidding. I am kidding.
We know you're kidding.
Limbo, I would own him in Limbo. Wait, sorry. I'm an advocate. I should not be making jokes. I apologize.
So, actually, I was going to say, Kendall, to go off your point about like bad playtesters, Bill in the chat actually just pointed out that a lot of other people have different ways of thinking and building the decks. So having that perspective versus like always having like the top 8 or so players being on playtesting is a really good thing. You might think of a deck, some way of doing it versus like a Justin Desai in your deck, and people might think, oh, well, I like this way of doing it. It's kind of kooky, but it kind of wins. I'll play that. So
right, or just see an interaction from a different. Yeah, that's definitely true. And yeah, actually, they make cards for me. I know because I've seen some of the cards from this upcoming set, and one of my favorite decks is getting a major boost, and I'm very excited. I'll just say that it's the theme is from Solo, so you can kind of make your mental connection.
Well, I mean, a lot of people, we do know Solo's getting a lot of cards, but come on, everybody's already seen their favorite card from the set. It's clearly Rock.
Clearly Rock, yes.
Clearly Rock. Chris, I hope that you made that card.
Actually, he's gonna get mad at me, I guess. Jared posted that card. That was the very first card approved in set 13. I guess he saw Solo and he instantly went to the boards and posted that. The playtesters know what the original text was. He wants that text back on it. Maybe that will happen. Maybe it won't. But the credit for that card goes to Jared.
All I'm going to say is the memes after Kendall spoiled that card were fantastic.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. Like, for me, the game is fun, and I get that there are the Hazes and the Desais and the Joe Olsons and everyone who play at a high level and understand the game that at a level we don't. But at the end of the day, it's a game, and if we can make it more fun, that's goal number one. And then worry about the rest of the stuff.
Yeah, and that's a good point.
And one of my favorite things about GEMP is the amount of low-level Star Wars play. That's the nice way of saying bad players. Is the amount of kind of low-level play where you can bring like a kooky thing to a casual table, and you'll either run into somebody else who's playing something kooky and have a fun game, or maybe you're running into somebody who is playing a deck they don't know or something. Like, otherwise it's still a game, as opposed to for a long time, the only times that I could play Star Wars were at Continentals or at some regional that I drove 3 states to get to. Yeah. And when you drive 3 states to get to an event, most of the people are playing good decks.
Not only that, by the time you get there, you're dead tired, so you're not thinking clearly. Hopefully you got some sort of amount of sleep, either driving while you're driving or once you get there. But yeah,
there was one event that it was the last event before the reset. Like, it was like the weekend before the reset in Champaign, Illinois. I drove like 5 hours to get there. I made it through the first day. We had like whatever regionals and then states the next day or whatever. But I was too tired to like stay up late and drink with everybody. So I actually went to bed. And then the next day, everyone was hungover, and I won 2 games, which is the most I ever won at a tournament up to that point.
You know what's funny? That's the same amount of games that Chris Kelly won in the Texas Mini Worlds.
Yeah. I had a great time. I'm honestly, I'm happy the way I played. Jared was my teammate. He advanced. I ran into Bill, who had an incredible run. He obviously was very prepared. He played great and flawlessly. I think during the Watto game, I wanted to quit playing Star Wars about 5 times. Bill just kept answering. He played great, and I'm glad he was able to go as far as he did. That was a fun experience for me because we could do the back and forth. Like, I get Watto, and then he gets Leia down and shoots him, and even though I got my butt kicked, it was a really fun game to play, and obviously Bill's a great opponent. So
I was gonna say Bill is a fun opponent, and congrats to Bill.
And he's on a tear,
Congrats for him to making the top 8. I mean, he did lose to Joe Olson, who's now in the top 4, but Bill had a great run.
Joe Olson's pretty good.
Mediocre at best.
Gotta be honest, I probably would have been rooting for Bill there, but
you know what? Even though Bill beat me down, I mean, I was the first person to make Bill lose in that tournament, so that's a little to me. But yeah, definitely, like, I was rooting for Bill because you can't. I mean, first of all, he's a fellow Air Force person, so that's good. And second, you got to root for the underdog. You really do. So,
not always.
Well, do you want to know how I did at the Texas Mini Worlds? Because I played in that.
How'd you do, Kendall?
Did you have fun?
Yeah, I actually did okay. Okay, it was actually probably one of my it was easily my best performance at an event. But it was one of my best kind of Star Wars card days. I won against Justin Desai, or not Justin Desai, Justin Carulli. Lost to Justin Desai. Sorry.
Oh, Justin Carulli is like the happiest man alive.
Too many Justins.
There are.
There are too many Matts, too many Justins, too many Chris's.
I say
it's not that big of a community. Why don't people each have their own names? We need
yes.
Screen Actors Guild.
No, we have a bracket tournament where each of the Chris's play each other, each of the Matts play each other, each of the Justins play each other, and whoever makes it out can keep the title Matt, Justin, or Chris.
Okay. Yeah, that works. But yeah, no, I won against Justin Carulli, which is the first time I ever beat him. I won against Chris Gogolin, and it was, I think, by 1 card. Okay. I thought that I had lost, but I forgot that he couldn't pay to drain, and we were both losing to Visage.
Nice. Okay.
So he actually ended up. I was about to click concede, and then he lost. He lost his
Okay.
last card.
I forgot. There's also a bunch of Jareds too.
Yeah.
So this idea gets better and better.
Then you have the Hunters with the last name issue.
Well, no, they don't count.
And then yeah, third round was when I played against Desai, and I felt like I did actually like hold my own against someone who is obviously a much stronger player, and he just played. He's one of those people that when you play against him, you like learn how to play Star Wars cards. You're like, I didn't even realize that card did that thing.
Yeah.
You know, or I didn't realize people, you know, actually recirculated their or sent their guys to the used pile. And then but I did lose to him, and I lost to I can't remember his name, someone who I don't know, in the last round, and I played poorly in that game, and I felt very bad about it. But that was my Texas Mini Worlds.
It happens. Went
2-2, beating two people that I have immense amounts of respect for. So yeah, I went, and then my teammate or my co-host or whatever the heck Matt is, he went crazy, undefeated, was on a tear. And made it into the top 8.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and that's the problem now with Matt is next tournament it's expected.
Yes.
So he's no longer Cinderella.
Yeah.
So good, and while you know, obviously everyone else played well. Matt played great. Matt and I messaged a lot on Slack, and I was beyond thrilled for him. It was great. It's been a great event so far, and I'm sure it'll continue to be. But
you know what, I do like
good Star Wars.
How do you guys like? What's your take on the pod format that Robbie put into use with this tournament? Did you guys like the pods? Did you not like the pods?
I did not like the fact that Bill could both play it or make a deck that was designed to beat the deck I play, and then also chose to pick that deck when I played Watto. I was against that, but otherwise, and it's funny because my other deck was the Dagobah Cave deck, and that would have beaten Throne Room. So
yeah, it
was cool. It was exciting. It gave a different layer to and it might be a necessary evil in online play for scouting reasons.
So you like the 2 deck being able to switch and everything in between games idea, not but you kind of, you said you'd like it, but you don't like it. Is that correct?
It might be a necessary evil because of scouting. So if everyone knows I'm playing Watto, someone's going to,
Well, I mean, at that point, you're locked into a deck for those, 4 games, essentially. I mean, it does allow for, like, a mindset of, like, okay, I'm playing Watto. I need to get the Goldenrod Shield out. I'm going to lose 2 force on my first turn. I understand that. But yeah, I think the pods overall were a generally good idea, and I know Scott last week was talking about possibly going forth with them for Worlds this year because Worlds is going to be down the line, and they're looking at doing online again.
My only complaint the fact that I was even in contention for making a cut was kind of crazy. But and maybe it speaks to why it's a bad format. But I like playing 6 games in a day at a tournament. And I
will say this: 6 games okay, 8 games you get to the borderline of like passing out and everything. I will say this though, like 4, it did seem a little bit too short because I know there got to the points where we saw players have there was 3 or 4 players who had a chance to get in, and just based on the standings and how everything had to be organized with who can play who, it just one person wasn't able to, I saw people who weren't able to get in even though they had a winning record and everything. Yeah. But because of, well, first of all, differential, which is different. But
my other concern about especially these big events. Texas Mini Worlds is not over yet, but it's been going on for like 6 months now. When we do these cuts to, especially cutting to, because cutting to 16 adds an extra round of 2.5 weeks of people scheduling matches. I think if we could get it, and especially if it's not an issue of having this many games run on GEMP at the same time, if we could get it to where you're at least cutting to a top 8 in one day, however you need to do that, it would probably be beneficial for the event as a whole.
Yeah, and that's a good point. But yeah, I mean,
Kendall, what sheet is behind you? Is that Endor?
It is an Endor Commons, light side Endor Commons. I got it at, I think, 2014 Nationals because no one else wanted it.
Nice.
Somebody, I think it was a prize for like the team tournament or something. I played with Dorsch and I was playing Jawas, but I forgot to put my V-slip in the thing, and so I was playing because it was virtual. The virtual Jawa camp at the time would let you deploy Jawas for just one force from you, and I forgot to put the V-slip in the thing and played against Reed.
Oh.
And he was like, "I don't think you have the V-slip in there." I was like, "Oh, okay, I guess I lose." And then
he didn't let you just play it like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I didn't. I would have lost anyway. It was a pretty bad deck. Yeah. But no. I remember that. Yeah, that was a team. And then Dorsch, I built a deck for Dorsch to play, and he was like, "What is this thing?" It was an AT-AT Imperial Entanglements deck that I built, having never seen an Imperial Entanglements deck before.
Oh, okay.
It had like 6 Dune Walkers in it, I think.
That's a card we need to virtualize, Chris.
Yeah.
Bring back some
definitely.
Dune Walkers.
There was a virtual unique Dune Walker in Legacy, wasn't there?
Oh, it deployed a site or something, didn't it?
Yeah. It was used maybe once or twice.
Yeah, I want like, I don't know. I didn't finish Battlefront. I want a Battle of Jakku thing where it's like Sand Speeders versus Dune Walkers. I don't know if that's actually what happened, but there's a desert with an AT-AT in the beginning of Force Awakens. I assume that's how that happened.
And that's all that matters. So, do you guys want to move on over into Swing and a Miss?
Let's do it.
Okay, so we are about to go with Swing and a Miss. Let me minimize.
In honor of Swing and a Miss, Chris has worn his baseball cap.
Of the Yankees were playing terribly and swinging
and
missing.
Yeah, I was going to say, what are they, like 1 or 2 games below 500 now?
No, I think they're 1 or 2 up above 500, but that doesn't seem any better.
Hey, you know what? All I'm going to say is I'm a big Mariners fan. They're like 3 games behind the Yankees right now. So let's go on to Swing and a Miss. So for our first question of the night, so CBT will errata more than 4 cards before the major, or before the next major.
I'll go last.
Yeah, you're gonna go last. I'm gonna say hit, and I think it's gonna be like, we're gonna see maybe upwards of 8. Like, I could see it. I don't know.
Can you name 8 cards that could have errata?
Saw, no idea. So the flip side.
I think that's they will be lost and confused.
Yeah. So 10 men. Gideon. Do we have a card that stops the garrison with No, we don't yet. No, I was gonna say that, like, garrison with field promotion, or is there a card that cancels field promotion besides alter?
Not even alter will do it.
Oh, that's right, it's immune to alter.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's what I said, 4. I think they're going to touch. I think we could see maybe like one or two shields getting touched as well. So if we
What
get
shields?
weapons display and firepower, definitely.
Why? Look
And-
at me asking you the questions.
right? I've never been on this side of the interview. No, I think a lot of people just have the issues with them. I mean, have been a very diverse card since they came in, and a lot of people have been like, okay, well, is it? They don't like the interaction, especially on weapons display, where you can barrier a guy if your lights or if your light side, you come down with a guy, dark side barriers, and then light side deploys another guys in battles, and you're losing 2 force. Especially on the fact is it's 2 force per person. So if I barrier like your first character, and then during the battle I stun the leader, I'm losing 4 force. That's I don't think it's fair to me. And I think if we change weapons display, we're going to see something changed with firepower. So that's my reasoning, Chris.
Kendall?
So, okay. Well, first of all, yeah, no, people have been complaining about weapons display and firepower since I was in high school. Yeah, no, I want more offensive shields. If anything, I would errata firepower errata firepower to mirror weapons display as opposed to having the move away text, because I don't think the move away text is as relevant anymore. But I think there's going to be an errata associated with no idea. I don't think it's going to be multiple cards, because that's how I think you got high.
Well, I also forgot a key dark side card that I play, but the chat clearly has not forgot about him. Ritik.
Oh yeah,
that's guaranteed. And,
so that's 2, according to my head. Let me think.
Like I said, with Gideon,
I don't think.
I
guess Gideon might. I don't think there's going to be a field promotion dealy. I haven't actually read the CBT thread for CCT. I'm surprised that people hadn't started complaining about that sooner.
You know, I don't think it's an issue. I think it's an issue with like Ritik and broken concentration. We just lost Chris Kelly. Whatever you said just made him fall. I love it. Hi, Chris.
I was just kind of like, oh yeah. I mean, there are aspects of that deck that have been annoying me for a while. I'm the worst person for CBT stuff, because I almost never think there should be errata. But I'm just surprised that people hadn't complained about it yet.
I gotta ask Chris, why are you dying with laughter right now?
I got something in my throat. I'm sorry.
Chris, come on. Openness from the advocates. What is it?
So are we done with the swinging and a miss?
No,
thingy?
we're not.
Everyone has their guesses in.
We have ours in.
So I would put it right at 4. I don't think more than 4.
So miss.
Dan, what was your guess?
A hit. I think 8 at least.
8. Okay. I will say I don't know for sure that all of them would fit on the same page, on the same PDF page.
Whoa.
But that could be anything. It could be full slips. We don't know.
Well, so I'm going to say this.
It's actually just the oversized version of the Legend objective that's getting.
You need to have Kendall on all of the time.
We do. So I'm going to say this. From a printing standpoint, you get 6. If you get the full art slips, there's 6 per page. So that's at least 6 that we know.
Well, this is where we at, or where I think we're going to be at now, and this is why it's kind of tough to always predict. Also, we're kind of sensitive to. We don't want to mess with Robbie's event right now because it's still ongoing.
That's fair.
2 metas and everything, so we want to be sensitive to that. And just watching the scroll now, did you make my nickname my name and my first initial and last name?
Isn't that what your name for Gemp is?
No, but
Oh,
anyway,
what is it?
It's Chris Kelly, but UFC.
Oh.
Anyway, so the CBT is kind of tough with that, but I can say we're being very, very proactive and responsive, and I think the timing of set 13, which obviously is COVID delayed like everything else in the
Yeah.
world. So we're kind of taking advantage of that. We're making it a good thing if we can
Okay.
time the CBT and set 13. It's almost like a second tweak set, which was very well received. So we're going to be changing some things. I will say this. One, I think it was a Jag Tech who brought it up first in the chat. Let me find the right thing so I'm not giving out false information.
That's another Justin, by the way.
Yeah. Chris currently looking over the chat and everything to get caught up.
Yeah, I'll say this.
I like how Justin. I like how JagTech Justin is kind of sucking up to our design advocate here.
Oh, I'm not even noticing that. I am noticing his guesses so far seem pretty reasonable. Without saying too much, he seems to be pretty spot on.
What? Whoa, time out. Weren't those all the cards I said too?
You didn't say Ritik.
Yes, he did actually.
No, he said it after.
Yeah.
After Justin.
He said it after.
I forgot.
After
Yeah.
Oh, you said you forgot him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
we're trying to do things like that, and it's. I honestly think it's going well. I'm pretty excited about it because it's another way to balance the game without having to make all of these meta cards. The decks are always going to be stuck with the 60 card rule.
Yeah.
So we can make counters all we want, but if you can't fit them in a deck, so sometimes it's better to attack it that way. And also virtual cards are a great opportunity to, if we got something wrong, to tweak it, to get it right. And I think with No Idea doing what it did, doing what it's doing, and also ISB toning them down a little bit won't hurt. I will say I think CCT is super fun. I played at NPC. I think it's super fun.
Oh,
Might be a little too good. The data says it's very good. What are you saying no to?
It's a good deck. I think it's because right now CCT is going up against. It is a winnable matchup for Lightside. It's just not one of those easy to win matchups. I think people aren't used to seeing like the power potential of it right now because it has that ability, like we said earlier. You can stack at the audience chamber and then you can spread out. There are a lot of different builds with the deck too, so maybe that's why people are playing it both with like the flip version. They're playing it with just the IG88 version, much like Bastion played against his first round opponent, who was MHT. Wow. I mean, CCT I think is fine. I think it's the cards like Broken Concentration and Ritik that push it over the edge, especially when CCT you can do that deck manipulation for your opponent, and then you can retrieve all your force, so that way you have nothing in your lost pile and you win big.
Yeah. See, my thing with CCT, or my concern with CCT, is not so much that it is like crazy broken right now, but it uses a lot of the same characters that you used for Court, and I want Court to be the best deck in the game because it's like my favorite dark side deck. So I want to just keep getting Court helpers, and if CCT, like, you know, if CCT isn't toned down a little bit, it might, you know, a rising tide raises all boats or whatever. It's very difficult to create powerful aliens if you've got this powerful alien deck, you know.
Well, I mean, to be fair, CCT and Court are two completely different decks.
Maybe just come out with a bunch of aliens that are immune to attrition below 4.
Why haven't we done that before, Chris?
No, make them immune less than 5. That way CCT is obsolete.
Wait. You virtualize Court. You add in that all your aliens and your starships can be immune less than 6. Why not? Because we're going big, and you retrieve 2 per control phase.
So we're kind of going a little, I guess, far afield. But one of my pet peeves, or I don't know what the word would be, whenever people are discussing cards and they're like, well, that's a design constraint. And I'm thinking, no, it's not. It's just something you don't like. In my opinion, design constraints, the biggest one is obviously Bring 'Em Before Me, because that forces either Luke in every deck,
Well,
or
I wouldn't say
two lines of an objective to make it so it gets around Bring 'Em Before Me, in my opinion, is hands down the biggest design constraint there is.
No, you're forgetting your imagination. You got to have an imagination to have a good design concept.
I think more so than Scum, I think Court, actually. Because anytime there's any alien, we have to account for his forfeit not being 55 when Court's on table.
Yeah.
So I think Court's probably up there as a design constraint. But I love Court. I love Court. I love CCG.
Yeah, Court's
I love
awesome.
That stuff.
If I was going to, I
really
mean,
is.
The only problem with Court, of course, is that it doesn't do what it wants to do, which is capture and feed things to the Sarlacc.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that's the biggest problem
still,
with Court.
even though it is like half of an objective, and doesn't do what you want it to do, it's still like one of my favorites. So that speaks to, I think it's just because I like that scene in Empire Strikes Back with the bounty hunters.
I always think of the text on CCT that says you can't play Dark Deal, and I'm like, Decipher was thinking when they made that, well, this would be a Dark Deal engine because it has three sites, and now there's no one who'd ever even think about Dark Deal in CCT because of everything that's happened so far since then. Okay,
so that was our first question. On to question.
Oh, just going back to that. So I didn't mean to be rude, but I was looking through the CBT thread, and in my count, to be fair, as far as fitting on one page, some cards might in fact be blanked, so those would not count against the space. So I don't want to give a false impression of the number being higher.
It's actually he's announcing a reset here.
I think my party line is there are no current plans for a reset.
That's exactly what someone planning a reset would say.
So about
Kendall, reset, you're our new host forever now.
Yeah. Obviously, who knows what the future will hold, and it's like counterintuitive because wouldn't I want a reset? Because I would get to like reset everything and make things the way I want to be, and whatever Anakin says to Padme. I don't think we're there yet.
I love you.
That worked out really well for Anakin.
Yeah. I think we can tweak some stuff. I think, and I'm so grateful and proud of D&D because there always used to be this stigma of errata or anything like that. We don't have that. We really, genuinely, everyone on D&D just wants the game to be good and fun. Sometimes we disagree with people on the boards as to what is good and fun, and that's okay. But we really, our CBT threads are thoughtful discussion. I've changed my mind on some things based on things people have said, data people have shown me. So I'm actually really, proud and grateful for everyone on D&D for being so willing to change things. Doesn't necessarily mean they got it right or wrong. It's just a different way, different meta. So shout out to everyone there. For being willing to just make the game better.
Okay. So on to question number 2. So ISB stack, that's where you stack like a bunch of characters at one, maybe 2 sites, will be meta solved, and then the people will be onto the next broken deck. So are you saying so this was about with set 13? Set 13 is going to adjust the meta, and people are going to forget about ISB stack in the near future. So we'll start with Kendall.
Honestly, I feel like ISB has been kind of a slow roll. Like when the NPC happened, immediately because right after that we were talking about updating the Jawa ban list, and people were like ISB, and I was like, I have not played against ISB up to this point. Like I dodged it until after the NPC, and then it's definitely tier 1, and it's definitely, I would say it is maybe tier 0.5 or tier 0 right now. But it's been a slow enough roll, and people have been learning that deck for a long time that I don't think it's just going to disappear. I mean, I don't think that Rock beats the deck just by itself. So, you know,
It might.
that's all I can say about set 13.
That's fair.
First off, if anyone plays Rock and does not make a clicking noise, you're dead to me.
Why?
Because of the movie where Proxima's like, "That's not a rock," and he goes, "Oh, that's not a thermal detonator," and Han goes, she goes, "You just made a clicking noise." It's like, I just armed it. I will say it will not disappear from the meta. I do think it will slow down just through the ebbs and flows.
Mm-hmm.
It will, absent changes, whether that be errata or meta cards in the next set. It will always be good. I think that there are answers to it, and if you're willing to do it, it's beatable.
I just want to see Outer Rim Scouts again.
Oh.
I don't even know that I don't even, that's not even like barely my nostalgia. Except I will say ISB was the first objective that I ever owned, and I was smart enough in 3rd grade to know that Outer Rim Scouts were good because they were ISB agents.
Mm-hmm.
And I also was, I don't know if you know this, but I was the one that broke the operatives objectives too.
That was you?
Yeah, in 3rd grade. Yeah.
That's amazing.
I actually was the first person to win a major with the Luke effect. So I would like to take credit for Throne Room as we
just Throne Room in general.
Yeah.
Okay.
With the Walkling Luke effect insurrection. So that's on me. You got the operatives, I got that. Dan, what are you claiming? I think Watcher Step V is still out there if you want to take credit for that.
Actually, no. I'm going to take credit the original IIG-88 in CCT. Reed Smith and I actually developed that deck sitting in my dorm room at Robert Morris while I was in college. It was like early on, and I took that deck. He took something else down to a Yavin 4 regional, and I want to say I came close to making the top cut, but I know he did better than Reed, and that's what matters.
Yeah, the difference is Kendall and I were clearly joking.
So Dan, I have this character in my head that I think was you in the early 2000s. Did they used to call you the worst player in Star Wars CCG? Team Ohio? Because you were with Team Ohio, right?
Yeah.
Was that a thing that they did?
Yep.
Okay, so you're definitely the jerk that I knew back then. Okay, cool.
What?
Hey,
how was I a jerk back then?
I don't even remember. I don't even remember.
I was the quiet part of like that. You might be thinking about Brad Iyer.
You know what it was? I think you were quiet, and I think I took that as you being like, I'm better than you. Because I was like all excited. I was like, I play Star Wars cards. That's probably what it was.
So to break this ice,
yeah.
what I like about our game is there's probably, our community's great. Like there's very few people you wouldn't sit down across the table from and sling cards with. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. Dan's not a jerk anymore. It's cool.
I will be a jerk now.
I don't know. I had this, like I said, it's like this image of you back then, and I can't, it's so weird. Like when you think back, like 15, 20 years ago, you knew these people, or you like interacted with these people, and it's the same people, but we're all nicer than we used to be.
Yeah. So
I'm sure Chris Kelly has always been the nicest guy.
So on to question 3 for the night. Hitco is overrated in strength, but underrated in fun. I'll start off. I'm going to say miss. Like, there's a reason why Chris Kelly didn't play Hitco for Texas Mini Worlds. There's a reason why. I mean, don't get me wrong. Drawing 6s are fun, but there's a reason why when a guy who makes like this is his pet deck, his baby essentially, he doesn't play it. So miss.
So the question is, it's overrated as a deck,
so it's
but
overrated
underrated for
in
fun.
Correct.
Okay. So I think it is probably. I think most people have a correct assessment of Hitco right now. Maybe it's a little bit underrated, if anything, because I think that a lot of people think it sucks, including its father. But I mean, I lose to it sometimes. I lose to it, most of the times that I run up against it, which is true of many decks. But I think it's fun.
Yeah, it's like I said, drawing sixes are fun. I mean, obviously, unless you're drawing them.
Also, just playing Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight is fun. Like it's a card. I wish I could play it in person and have like 12 copies of Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight in the deck. But I only own one Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight.
You can do that. Just make sure you go to an event where Chris Kelly's at. He'll lend you some of the copies that he has.
I actually just found a bunch of Luke Jedis in my dishwasher the other day. I was cleaning it out. I was like, oh, that's where these are. I left them in there.
What's the total up to now, Chris? 96?
This question is bunk because I thought originally it was written to be Throne Room.
Yeah. So,
if it was Throne Room, it's a much more interesting question.
Jerry, yeah, obviously. I mean, but Jerry suggested Hitco because you're on the show.
Oh, I think Hitco is easy. Throne Room, I think, is more of the discussion as to whether it is overrated in strength, but underrated in fun. I'm
gonna agree 1,000% on that.
I agree with Kendall. I think its strength is assessed fairly. A guy like Paul Myers, they're winning with it with their particular version. Underrated and fun. Going first is so fun, man. It really is. But like Kendall said, just deploying Jedi Luke and that epic moment, the climax of the trilogy, is also good. But I think CRG in the chat hit the nail on the head. I don't play Sense in Hitco because there's too many sixes. And I don't know if you guys, if you were like when you're playing cards and you draw Destiny, have you ever drawn a 6 for Destiny? It feels so good. So I think
at one point you even said that drawing a 6 for Destiny is the best feeling ever.
Yeah.
I haven't played a lot of Hitco, but I played this one game on stream where like literally like I think I drew 4 or 5 Destinies over a couple of battles. Every single one of them was a 6.
So you know how early in the game you tend to target the safe target with your weapons because your Destiny's not there, it's not thinned out. Yeah. Hitco, you're just like, I'll go Maul, Phantom Menace. I don't care. I don't even care. And if you miss, you're actively disappointed. You're like, oh my gosh,
you know what? I'll agree with you there. I'll agree with you.
It's incredible. Yeah.
But I would say actually the low key burying the lead here. Throne Room gets a lot of grief for being an overpowered deck or whatever. Like kind of perennially, people complain about it. I would say that there are a lot of games, whichever side you're on, whether you're light side or dark side. If one of the decks is playing Throne Room, you're gonna have an interactive game where stuff is gonna happen. And a lot of times it is a fun matchup. It also teaches. For new players, it teaches the fundamentals of the game. It's a deck that's less overwhelming because you don't have 45 cards on the table. It really is like a staple of the game. and really creates a good experience. I'm not saying it should be the best deck, but it should always be around.
Yeah, and I'll echo with that. I agree with it, and that's kind of why I thought the question was written to be Throne Room. For that reason, I think the stats showed up. Throne Room was 50-50. It has a stigma of being this overpowered monster. It is fun to play so long as you don't whiff, and it's fun to play against so long as they don't hit the lottery, the jackpot. So it definitely is, like Kendall said, it's an interactive game. There's some decks it will roll, unfortunately. But I also do get it can be frustrating when they don't deploy a single battleground on table.
Yeah. Which is that's a thing. I wish that I don't know. I wish that there was a way that there could be more battlegrounds. Just more battlegrounds in general and more adjacent battlegrounds. That's the other thing that frustrates me is when you have like there's 2 battlegrounds on table. You know, you have the Dark Side has the Cloud City site and I got the Naboo site, and never the twain shall meet. And there's no docking bays. There's no, somebody has to Nabrin somewhere or something.
Well, I think it's pretty clear that's because I don't really understand the move phase. It's my least favorite of the phases. Just skip it.
What's your favorite?
Deploy the guy there.
What's your favorite phase?
There. What's my what?
What's your favorite phase?
Battle.
Yeah.
Duh. That's statistically, battle is the phase you're most likely to fire a lightsaber in. If you check the GEM stats, and I know there's some threads with statistics on it, that's most likely. Control will pop up every now and then, but it's battle.
Oh man, you need to design an Ahsoka that swings a lightsaber during deploy phase.
You need to stop giving me great ideas.
God.
Set 13 is thrown by 2 cards this whole show.
Okay, on for our last question. This is specifically designed for Chris. So, Chris Kelly will announce at least 5 new spoilers for Set 13 before the end of Texas Mini Worlds.
Am I going first?
Yes.
So I'm embarrassed to say, is there an end date for Texas Mini Worlds? It's their last week. They can pick whenever.
So Sunday is the end of week 2, and I want to say Robbie's giving 2 more weeks for each round, so there's 4 more weeks. So
there's 4 more weeks,
possibly. I'm going to be reasonable and say it's going to be 3 weeks. Or 2.5.
So like by the end of the month.
I would say by
the end of the month.
By the end of the month, we should have a champion.
So
that's 3 weeks, Chris.
Menzel obviously was great, and I loved he was very active. He did so much good for this game. With him retiring, I feel like I can give out spoilers and no one will yell at me, except a few people in the
I'll
Slack
start yelling
chat.
at you.
So like it is kind of liberating that I
okay.
no one will get mad.
Chris, you know what? I'm going to say this. I won't get mad, and as the marketing leader, I don't have a title, I guess. Give out as many spoilers.
Kendall said it earlier.
Okay, I'm sorry I said that.
Saboba.
No, they don't. He's not still.
I
think
will
it's pretty
say
clear that
this.
I'm a worse player than him.
My plan was to. Are we talking just set 13 or CBT stuff as well?
Just set 13. The question specifically does say set 13.
I would say miss.
If you guys could see me, which now you should be able to, if you haven't noticed, I'm having a little bit of difficulties with my camera. I'm going to fix that for next week's show, hopefully. I have a very disappointed look on my face.
Just because this is a very themed set.
Okay, that makes sense. But there
So,
are, I
like,
will say, there's at least 5 cards that are not themed.
So it could be if we decide this theme is definitely ready to go and we release the whole theme as a spoiler, that might be a cool thing to do. I just don't know. So we're in this time period where we're scheduling majors at a certain pace and things are going on in the world. I want to take advantage of that. I want to make sure we're releasing the best product possible. Playtesting has been phenomenal. Let's use that. So we actually have kind of set the set back get an extra round of playtesting in. I just think that's a good use of time now that it's given to us.
Okay.
So
Yeah, and
if
that's a
there
good
was a
point.
theme that was ready, maybe we'd release a bunch of spoilers. It just doesn't make sense in my mind, to release one spoiler in a vacuum that people would see and be like, this card is not going in my deck.
That's a good
Without
point.
seeing the other cards. So that's kind of why I say no. But having said that, I'm like so easy, and I'm a man of the people. So I could also see me just one night just throwing them some way.
Okay, so what do we the people need to send your way to get spoilers out?
It's to be honest. So then I'm derelict in my duties. Playtest. And on the Slack chat, I think I'm pretty active as far as saying, hey, I think we missed this idea. PM me your suggestions for what better text might be. Once we tighten up the set, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say this after this show, there's like I'm talking with people about tightening it up. So we're getting there for sure. We're getting there. I don't want to commit to being there until we're ready. For obvious reasons. And that's
that
for the
makes
benefit
sense.
of everyone.
That does make sense. I will say this: Bill again is highlighting in the chat by saying that we've already seen Rock. It's not going into my deck because it is my deck. Oh, Bill.
Oh, and one more thing about the spoilers. There's player cards in it. And
that's true.
I don't like to spoil the player cards. I like to give the players the first opportunity to. So that also factors into it.
That's a good point. Okay, so yeah, whatever. Obviously, Kendall and I can't really.
Well, I was gonna say I had it all figured out. I was gonna say 5 spoilers by the end of the episode, but I guess I'm wrong.
Well, we already spoiled the Sebulba guy and the Ahsoka lightsaber.
Oh, good times, good times. Okay, so moving on. For last week's deck building challenge, it was last week we had people do how many destinies they could do into one battle without any redraws. So David Woods actually did it again, people. He showed up on top. Here's a screenshot, as you can see, of what he in the battle. It looked like he was playing light side with, is that a Hitco I see? And he drew 9 Destiny. Wow. So David Woods has gone back to back with the deck building challenges. So congratulations to him. I'll be getting him out his prizes. Unfortunately, though, Dave, I'm going to have to turn you off for a little bit with the deck building challenges. After you win 2, we normally like to get other people involved. So
Is he in the chat? Is David Woods in the chat?
I believe he is.
What's his name?
He was. He was in the chat earlier. Looks like.
If he's in the chat, I will tonight send him a card he can spoil.
Ooh, okay.
But if he's not in the chat.
He's not in the chat.
Right.
That's no bueno.
So that's what it is. Chris Kelly won't spoil 5 cards, but he'll give 5 cards to other people to spoil.
Yeah.
I see what you did there.
I'm a man of the people. I don't know what you want from me.
So, again, if you want to watch the replay of David's game, it is on the September 2nd deck building challenge. This week, it's going to be a little Chris Kelly themed. So we're going to ask you to play and win. And we're going to go back to winning. 3
with
I
Hitco.
thought you said it's Chris Kelly themed.
Well, I mean, it could be. I mean, if anything, it should be a Bill Kafer themed. But yeah, you have to play and win with deploying 3 different versions of Darth Vader onto the table. So you're looking at like maybe a Lord Vader, Emperor's Enforcer, Choke Vader, Original Vader, Vader with lightsaber, Space Vader. No, they do not have to be all at once, but they have to be on the table at 3 different points.
Wait, time out.
Yes, Chris.
Bill has the best idea for Tarn missing. Either, I guess, next week, if this one's locked in, can it be
Wait,
whoever
time out.
blanks the most amount of forfeit?
I like that better. We're doing
That's
that one.
amazing.
We're doing this one.
Whoever blanks the most amount of forfeit across the entire game with Tarn missing wins. That's incredible.
Yeah.
I don't even know what Tarn missing is.
Oh, you will the first time someone uses it against you.
Oh, he's that guy. People complain about
he's
that guy.
I will be posting this onto the forums right after the show. You will have up until next week at 5 o'clock, or 8 o'clock, sorry, Eastern Time, 5 o'clock Pacific, to enter, and we'll get you one of those prizes. Again, I'm going to be, over the weekend, I'm actually going to be designing new prizes to give out to people, so we're not going to retire the Jerry-themed chamber, but we are going to move on to some new ones.
What are they?
Spoilers. I would show them right now, but my webcam's not working.
Spoilers from set 13?
No, Kendall. No.
That'd be good. That'd be a good prize.
But moving on, Chris, please remove yourself from Twitch.
Okay.
So, we're going to do the lore challenge. So, again, for those who do not know about this challenge, instead of the spelling challenge, we are doing the lore challenge. I give Chris the side of the card, and then I give him what type of card it is. And then last again, I'll give you the lore. You just tell me what the card is, and you'll win a prize. For you, how about an entire set of foil set 13 cards? If you win.
Now pressure's on.
Now I feel like Dan's pretty sure he's going to lose.
Okay, the card is up. So can everybody read that? Sorry, give me 1 second. The card is a light side interrupt. And your lore is many pilots for the rebellion learned their skills using modified T-47s and other airspeeders. Being able to weave in and out of combat has become second nature to them.
Am I allowed to ask the set?
I will allow it.
If I ask it, will you answer it?
That I don't know. No, because I have not allowed anyone else in the challenge to guess the set. You can theoretically, as long as you don't say the name and it's your final answer, you can guess it. You can take your as much time and you can talk it out. You know, you can maybe Kendall can help.
On long enough already.
Well, the thing is, I have a card in mind in my head.
I have two in mind.
Well,
I actually recognize that lore, which is why I'm gonna kick myself.
All right, it's rebel pilots weave in and out.
many pilots for the rebellion learned their skills using modified T-47s and other airspeeders. Being able to weave in and out of combat has become second nature to them.
Yeah, no. So okay, so T-47s is snow speeders.
Yeah. So
it's something from Hoth.
My not a guess is diversionary tactics or desperate whatever the reflection.
Desperate
3
tactics.
one is. That's not my guess.
Okay, hold on.
My guess is going to be attack pattern delta or T-47 battle formation.
Oh, I like this.
I don't.
Well, the one I was gonna guess is not even an interrupt. So,
do you give up? Do you have a final answer, Chris?
I'm sorry. One more time.
Many pilots for the rebellion learn their skills using modified T-47s and other air speeders. Being able to weave in and out of combat has become second nature to them.
TAC Banner Delta.
Final answer? Go ahead and check the Twitch page, Chris. Because you're incorrect, sir. The card is Hit and Run from Special Edition.
And it actually makes me feel better that it wasn't T-47 Battle Formation.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was going to be maneuvering flaps, and that's an effect.
Yeah.
And it's dirty cool, Dan, to pick and interrupt dealing with space weapons because you know how D&D feels about space weapons.
Why do you think I picked the card I did, Chris?
I feel like I gave it a good guess. That guess was
You
really
did.
good.
I mean, it
That
was
guess
you,
really good.
you theorized it well. I'll give you that. Yeah, I did go a little dirty, but I did say rebellion pilots, not drivers. Or,
What?
no, never mind. T-47s are piloted, not driven.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. They're piloted because they're combat vehicles.
But yeah,
That's a rule.
Yeah. Do you need me to send you the AR? I can do that.
I have one right behind me.
I'm gonna
somewhere.
send you the AR with the TPS reports.
Oh, please do. I've been missing my TPS reports, sir. Again, I want to thank Kendall for coming on tonight as my co-host. Chris, it's always a pleasure having you come on.
It was a good time.
Next week, it looks like Jerry is going to be returning.
Yay,
so
Jerry!
He'll be, Jerry will come back as my my co-host, and I want to say B. Fred's going to be on next week, so that's going to be an interesting one. If you don't know B. Fred, he's one of the happiest, most lovable guys in the game. He's like one of the nicest. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun show. We're going to be talking about a lot of things with B. Fred, just getting to know him and everything. It's going to be a fun show. So, tune in next week for another exciting episode of Holotheatre. We will see you guys later.